Hello, welcome to Tier Nerd, and this time I will be tiering music once again. So I already tiered four large franchises, and so this is going to be part five in the series of tiering music. So this time I'm going to start. So I'm going to start going alphabetical order, just to keep some semblance of chronology. So part five, I'll start with Dot Hack and move and end with Chrono Trigger. And yep, and we'll just see how many videos it takes. So first, let's go over dot hack. So yeah, as a reminder, I am only rating it by the music. So first we have dot hack series. So the games themselves not that great; they're like C tier, but the music's not that bad. It's all about the same. The battle themes are pretty interesting. Dungeon themes are pretty interesting. I mean, I would at least give it a B tier for the music. They're all about the same. Like you remember, Dot Hack is just like one giant game split up into four sections, and the music's all about the same. I couldn't rate any of the four parts any differently. Um, but yeah, after a while, the music gets repetitive. But some of the boss themes later on get very interesting. Um, Kind of a unique like vibe to the music. Dungeons have an interesting music as well. So yeah, I think it's safe to say B tier, like maybe upper B tier. I'll rate Dot Hack upper B tier for music. I think not definitely not quite A tier, but it's solid. Let's see. Then we have the Breath of Fire games. So I'm rating. I have Breath of Fire. What? Oh yeah, there it is. Breath of Fire one. So Breath of Fire one all the way to five. So let's see. First, let's look at Breath of Fire 1. So, Breath of Fire 1, pretty memorable. Several world map themes, save several battle themes that change as you go through the game. And Breath of Fire isn't really like, it's not music I really listen to, but whenever I do stumble upon it, like, I remember that there's some really good tracks in the original Breath of Fire game. And yeah, some of the battle themes are very memorable. Some of the dungeon themes, yeah, very good. Breath of Fire 2 is about the same. I think a little bit worse. So for me, the Breath of Fire games actually get worse as you keep playing them. Like I think Breath of Fire 1 is the best, and then 2 is still really good, and then 3 is worse, and then 4 is even worse, and then 5 is like awful. So a lot of people say no, it's like they've been getting better, but no. I think like 1 was like the best, and they just went downhill from there. And so 2, the music's still solid. Maybe just not quite as good as 1, but still pretty solid. Um, yeah, I mean, 2 actually uses a lot of the same music as 1. There's some overlap. I think some they're like I think they repeat like one of the world map themes. I think repeats from the first game. So it's still solid, just probably not as good as the first game, but I still probably a solid soundtrack. 3 and 4, I just don't remember them as much. Like the music just not as memorable. I couldn't find as many things to like. One time I tried to make a playlist on YouTube of like really good music, RPG music, and I started from like alphabetical order, and I just got bored with it. Like I stopped once I hit like 1,500 tracks, and I still wasn't done. Like I estimated I would probably end up with like 3 or 4 thousand tracks of like music just from all the games I played, like all the JRPGs. So I just stopped. It's a project I just completely abandoned, and I remember when I got to Breath of Fire 3 and 4, I hardly had very many pieces in there. Like Breath of Fire 3 especially. I think 4 I actually had more. Like there was actually more music in 4 that was good than in 3. 3 was just like yeah, whatever. Like 3 was so maybe some good music, but it was kind of generic to the point where I almost want to give it like a C plus tier for Breath of Fire 3. Like the music just like yeah, whatever. Breath of Fire 4, there were maybe a little bit more. There was a little bit more music that I actually enjoyed. But yeah, the first two games just stand out more. So I think I'll rate these lower than even the dot hack games, which are actually still pretty solid. 4, but 3 was just sort of generic. Not awful, but kind of generic. Um, then we have Dragon Quest Quarter. No, today's Dragon Quest. Sorry. Okay, that was a slip of the tongue. So Breath of Fire 5, Dragon Quarter. So this is Breath of Fire 5. So Breath of Fire 5, Dragon Quarter, I didn't get too far into it. I played it for about an hour, and the game itself is probably like D tier, maybe C tier. I don't know. It's a very unique game. I never played it long enough to really appreciate it. Probably, it is hard. It's very unorthodox, very different from most RPGs in a lot of the mechanics. And um, if you're interested, read up on it. But it's a pretty unique game and how it handles a lot of things. And it's obviously it's not for everybody. I think this is a game more for people that are into out of the ordinary or RPG mechanics. Um, but the music's solid. The composer is actually Hitoshi Sakamoto. So this is the same composer that did Final Fantasy Tactics and Valkyria Chronicles and um, like FF12 and like there's a lot of games he's done. Like Hitoshi Sakamoto is a great composer. So I remember back in the day, like listening to some of the music from Breath of Fire 5 long before I'd even tried to play the game, and the music was solid. Like honestly, like despite the fact that I did not like the game after an hour, like what I've heard of the soundtrack was really good. Like I actually would, if I'd actually played the game, I'm pretty sure I would rank it higher than even any of the other Breath of Fire games. Like the music was really good. Like from what I heard, despite the fact that I had not even played the game, like hardly at all. Very solid soundtrack. A tier. So kind of hard to give it an S tier when I don't haven't played it. You know, when you've played it, it's a little different. You have like nostalgia for the game, and you can kind of you know, the music and the locations, you know, they kind of go together. When you haven't actually played the game, you kind of lose that. So you can't rate it like super high because of it. But still, even from not having like played the game, I still think it's super high A tier. And then that's actually what happened to Digital Devil Saga. I would listen to the music from the first two Digital Devil Saga games long before I'd ever played them. And when I played the Digital Devil Saga games, finally I was like, oh, okay, that's why the music was so cool. But like, I would play the games. I would listen to the music first. You know, that's the first time I heard the music, and then I play the games later, and it just became so much better after I've actually played the games. Um, but yeah, I think Breath of Fire 5 is a solid soundtrack. Definitely upper A tier. That's the Arc the Lad. The game was awful, like terrible D tier, but the music was a bit better, C tier. Like I remember that there was a few good, interesting themes actually. Maybe I don't know, like yeah, maybe lower B tier because maybe around here. I remember there were a few that I thought were pretty cool. So yeah, I think I can probably give it a low B tier. Um, yeah, probably better than Breath of Fire. Breath of Fire 3, they had some good themes, but yeah. I don't know if C tier is being too mean, but probably C plus. Like, I mean, I just listened over the Breath of Fire 3 soundtrack, and there was like very little that I thought was catchy or interesting. It was just a lot of it was kind of generic. Let's see. Then we have Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger. So Chrono Cross, overrated game, but music soundtrack is still solid. Like, yeah, A tier, upper A tier. Kind of surprised. I'm not giving anything S tier here. Yeah. Um, yeah, very strange. I'm not really giving anything S tier. Chrono Cross does have some real. You know what? Maybe it deserves S tier. Like the game is like a B tier to be honest, but the music. Yeah, I'm not like a super huge Mitsuda fan. Like I'm not like a huge Mitsuda fan, but I do think the music in Chrono Cross was solid. You know, like um, some of it was generic, forgettable, but a lot of the dungeon themes were good. A lot of the atmospheric music, like yeah, whenever I do listen to the Chrono Cross soundtrack, which isn't very often, but when I do, like there's some really good pieces in there. Um, Very memorable. I do think he's a good composer. Good, yeah. Here, probably one of his better soundtracks for sure. So yeah, I think it is. I think maybe like a low S tier. I think Chrono Cross really deserves it actually. Um, and then we have Chrono Trigger. I don't know what to rate higher. Um, Chrono Trigger also has a really solid soundtrack. Like when I listen to it, I'm like, oh yeah, it's really good. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. I might rate Chrono Cross's music actually higher than Chrono Trigger, although Chrono Trigger is still very solid. Like they got awesome boss themes. The battle theme is generic. Yeah, actually, they both have very interesting. Like Chrono Trigger's regular battle theme is kind of generic. It's not that great, and then Chrono Cross's battle theme is very odd. It's very different. If you've heard it, Gale, it's different from most. It's a lot of people. Some people really hate it. Some people really love it. And yeah, Chrono Trigger's music I think is also good. Um, a lot of the dungeon themes atmosphere. I think Chrono Cross probably edges it out though. Chrono Cross edges it out. Chrono Trigger. Yeah, so I think they're both. They probably both deserve S tier. And Breath of Fire 5, like if I'd actually played it and finished it, I seriously think I might consider this for S tier. It's just kind of hard to put it there. Because what I've heard, like Dojo Sakamoto is a great composer. Like, he creates very good like warlike battle themes and everything. And so, but since I hadn't played it, I can't really rank it that high. So I think this is. I think I'll stick to this. I think the Chrono series are solid S tier for music. And yeah, I think Chrono Cross might actually have better music than Chrono Trigger, although I think Chrono Trigger is a much better game than Chrono Cross. But that's just how these things go. So yep. So yeah. So I think this is pretty solid. This is how I'd rate it. I might be a little mean at Breath of Fire 3, maybe lower B tier, but this way I actually have something in C tier for once. But yeah, so this is part 5 of my tiering music video series. I'll be doing more. Stay tuned.